It's the year of 1965. A 17-year-old by the name of Randy Gardner had just become the most famous person in the medical world of sleep science. Randy just moved to San Diego and wanted to make an impression by earning the first prize in the city's science fair. Did Randy make a classic science fair project like a baking soda volcano or potato cloak? No, Randy knew he had to go big or go home. So he decided to set a record for the longest period of voluntary sleep deprivation, going days and days without sleep. What a nutcase, you might say. Even a simple all-nighter would crush most of our spirits, but young Randy managed to go without sleep for 11 days. To be more precise, he was awake for 264 hours and 12 minutes. This crazy feat gave the science world a lot of new data to analyze, thanks to all of the medical professionals and classmates who observed Randy day and night for these 11 days. The first 2 days were easy, Randy was fine. The only problems after 2 days were difficulties identifying objects by touch and with saying tongue twisters like Sally sells seashell by the seashore. Actually, this one's a bit tough even if you're not sleep deprived. On the third day, he started feeling nauseous, a sensation that unfortunately remained with him throughout the rest of the experiment. On day 4, things really started going downhill. Randy explained his feeling as early Alzheimer's, as well as state of paranoia. He even suffered from sudden onset hallucinations. When asked to count backwards by sevens from 100, he stopped at 65 and didn't recall what he was trying to do at all. His memory was that badly affected. I'm a science lover, I go crazy for a good experiment, but you'd never get me to go through the Randy's ordeal. Physically, Randy didn't have any problems. He even beat his overseeing physicians at pinball most of the time. Maybe his physician just sucked at pinball, but I'm supposed that it will remain a mystery. By the 11th day, Randy's brain was such a mess that he snapped at every reporter who asked him questions, recalling he was totally mentally broken. And the other day, he did manage to stay awake for 264 hours and 12 minutes, and then rewarded himself with a nice long sleep. Hi, Andre here, welcome to the Practical Health channel. Since sleep has such a deep impact on our lives, and I'm super passionate about this aspect of our well-being, we decided to dedicate the entire deep dive series for the next several weeks to the science of sleep. In the past, we've discussed how to fall asleep easier, how to wake up fast in the morning, and we've talked about different sleep tracking options. Now we'll talk about the science of sleep. Now we'll talk about the definition of sleep, its structure, its stages, archetypes of sleep patterns, circadian rhythm, the effect of sleep deprivation in the short and long term, and many other things. Better sleep, better life. Okay, what is sleep? Sleep is a state of mind and body characterized by altered consciousness, relatively inhibited sensory activity, reduced muscle activity and inhibition of nearly all voluntary muscle during rapid eye movement sleep, and reduced interactions with surroundings. One of the primary causes of sleep loss among the American population is self-imposed sleep deprivation. By the way, humans are the only mammals that delay sleep on purpose. How bad is lack of sleep? Randy demonstrated, and science managed to prove, that our body can withstand extensive periods of time without shut-eye, as long as we give it time to recover properly. But the chronic lack of sleep will create major health problems in the long run. You can't trick your body, and sooner or later, a bad sleep habit is gonna catch up to you. A chronic lack of sleep may result in metabolic conditions such as obesity and systemic inflammation, cardiovascular conditions such as increased blood pressure and high rates of heart attacks, cerebrovascular conditions such as strokes and early onset of dementia, endocrine disorders such as disruption of hypothalamo-pituitary axis, type 2 diabetes, and many other things. All this leads to basically deterioration of quality of life. So it's better to have healthy sleep and live a long, healthy life. A chronic lack of sleep also negatively impacts learning and memorizing, creates sudden mood changes, and decreases overall attention spans. Science demonstrated in an observational study that the mortality rate is at least 15% higher for chronically sleep-deprived people. And there are plenty of sudden death cases after 48 hours of no sleep. Randy was really taunting the Grim Reaper. Safety statistics show that 20% of serious car crashes, 70% of workplace accidents, and even major catastrophes have been linked to sleeplessness. We can add probably that 98% of pants are being put on backwards due to lack of sleep. In the United States alone, 9 million hours of work are being lost due to insufficient sleep alone, creating an annual impact of $411 billion. That's 2.3% of GDP. That reflects how important sleep is for our lives, not only for the soul health of a person, but the collective health and well-being of society. And 35% people globally, with some regional variations, don't get enough sleep. And this number is growing. What are the factors that influence our sleep? These factors range from the basic functioning of our brains, genetics, sleep architecture and age, to our psychological mental status, nutrition, workout schedule, mindfulness, habits, physical condition, and last but not the least, our environment outside and inside the bedroom. Basically a lot of things. Next time you're lying in bed, instead of counting sheep, try counting these physical and psychological factors. I guarantee they will put you to sleep faster. And we'll talk about each of these factors in this sleep series, to give you ideas for fine-tuning your lifestyle to get the best sleep possible. You're probably wondering what happened to Randy. What was the impact of this experiment on his health? It was a happy ending. Randy didn't suffer any long-term consequences. He gradually recovered by sleeping extra hours the next few nights. The first night after the experiment, he slept for 14 hours and managed to wake up in the morning as he was used to, without any impact on his biological clock. The following night, he slept for 10 hours, and then things basically went back to normal. And yes, Randy won the first prize in the science fair. He also got his name added to the Guinness Book of World Records and became the official record holder for the longest period of voluntary sleep deprivation. Here's an interesting fact. Guinness officials consider this feat such a risky one that they no longer hold records for the longest voluntary sleep deprivation. Way to go, Randy, you 17-year-old madman! So that's it for the first video in our series on the science of sleep. What have we learned today? We learned that sleep is a state of mind and body characterized by altered consciousness, relatively inhibited sensory activity, reduced muscle activity, and reduced interactions with surroundings. We learned about Randy Gardner and the most famous self-imposed sleep deprivation experiment. We know that a person may quickly recover in a couple of days from non-chronic sleep deprivation. If we are to talk about the chronic lack of sleep, there is a plethora of conditions that affect the sleep of a single person. Finally, the sleep deprivation of individuals heavily impacts the well-being of the society. So, by taking care of ourselves, we help the collective health and well-being of the society. So, take a nap and help the world. The research master for this episode is Dr. Florian Hodian. Florian is a European microsurgeon who is super passionate not only about his practice, but also about the exciting science behind a healthy lifestyle. And our visualization partner is B-Motion Studio. Buckle up, we're in for a wild ride into the science of sleep, and at the end of which you'll certainly have a better understanding of how to improve your sleep and how to live a healthy and happy life. Our next video will be on the architecture of sleep and its stages. See you next week, bye!